I got the leaders right there in front of me, couple car lengths ahead. They're battling hard, the 7, I think the 20 and the 00 or somebody.
That's right.
So I'm like, man, I'm going to finish top 4. No problem. And I started smelling something. I think the 00 goes by, and I smelled it right away, and it's something burning. I was like, I hope that's him. I think it's something's going on with his car. And then I saw a car on the inside on the apron, slow smoking. I'm like, okay, maybe it's that car. I don't know what it is. It's something smells burning. And then I started seeing smoke in our car, my car. I'm like, okay, now it's me. I know it's me. And I thought it was a fire buildup, rubber buildup on the exhaust. I was telling the team about, hey, I think there's something burning. They're just like giving me lap times and talking about, traditional clear, not clear, doing good corner, good exit. I'm like, y'all, we are burning. There's a fire in here, and they're not responding the way I want them to. And I want them to say, yeah, well, we don't see nothing, or we're looking,
right,
or whatever, right? Because usually if you got a fire on the exhaust from rubber buildup, you'll see it through the left front tire.
That's right.
As the car's coming off the corner, you kind of look through the wheel and you can see it.
Right.
But they ain't talking. You might be able to see the fire glowing on the surface of the racetrack underneath the car. They ain't saying nothing. And then, smoke's getting worse. About 5-6 laps go by. Smoke's getting worse inside the car. And then there was this weird feeling on my calf muscle. It was getting warm. And so my mind thought, oh, yeah, that's what it is. It's got to be fire burning on the exhaust. But it's, maybe trapped in the tunnel of the car somehow, or maybe on top of the exhaust, between the car and the exhaust, right under the tunnel right there. Or maybe the transmission's about to go. Maybe the transmission's about to burn up. But it's getting warm, and so I got my leg and my calf and everything slammed against the right leg board.
That's
right. When I go into the corner, I push my knee and my leg and my foot and everything to the right as hard as it'll go, right? And so I lean on the seat, and I lean on the board, the leg board. And so I'm feeling that warmth and that heat, and then come up off of 2. I'm getting really distracted at this point. Now I'm not thinking about where I'm at or where the cars are. I'm just thinking about this heat. And so my lap time, I'm not even trying to make lap time. I'm just kind of going around the track is all I'm doing.
Which, by the way, side note, Justin Allgaier said yesterday when we were talking, he noticed that there was something wrong because all of a sudden you aren't racing.
No more.
You are turning laps, but there was
not
something
racing.
Visibly different about the way you were racing.
Yes. And so now I'm totally distracted, trying to figure this out. And then I come up off of 2, and I felt a pinch on my ankle.
Mm.
And I was like, there's a fire down there. And so I glanced down, and I moved my leg. I literally kind of come off the throttle, and there's a ball of glow of fire. There's a fire in the floorboard. They ain't supposed to be fire in the car, Mike.
Nope.
Ever.
No.
And so that's when I lift off the gas and I went left. And luckily there was nobody there.
Luckily.
Chandler Smith was right behind me, and he just kind of follows the path and goes around the racetrack. But so I had I come down pit road, and I'm like, this is all in a second. But when I saw that fire, there's an air hose that runs down into a hole in the leg board right up at the gas pedal, and it's letting air blow into the floorboard of the car, just air from a NACA on the right window or something like that, right? So there's air feeding in right there and blowing in there as you're going around the track. And if you've ever seen a car at speed that's on fire, anywhere there's, the wind and the air sort of contains this fire in a space, in an area. And so I'm thinking, as I'm at speed, the air coming out of that NACA is blowing around that area and sort of containing that fire to literally just where it's burning in whatever material it's burning. And as soon as I slow down, and that air and that wind or whatever's tunnel, whatever that churning of air down there stops, that fire's just gonna light up.
Right.
Right.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And so imagine you got a campfire in front of you that's burning, right? Good campfire, all of it's burning, and you take a weed eater or a leaf blower to it. It's gonna blow the flame down. Certainly there'll be embers and things flying everywhere too, but the flames will no longer stand. They'll lay down, and you can literally put all that air on that campfire, and basically you'll be just looking at burning embers, right? You can literally almost blow the campfire out if you wanted to, but probably set the woods on fire. So, but I'm thinking this air churning down there has got this contained to whatever's on fire. The physical material that's burning is all and as soon as I slow down and that air stops moving down there, the fire's gonna grow. How quickly, I don't know.
Right.
But it's at my legs. It's burning. It's pinching me. It's burning my skin. Right. And so I come, right. I mean, all this is like in a second and a half. And so I come down pit road, and I was like, I had every expectation that the fire was going to get worse, and whatever was inside the car was just going to start burning more quickly without that wind sort of tampering it down. And but luckily they, and the other thing about why I was glad so I pull down pit road, and I'm looking to the left for who's paying attention. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the pit stalls as I'm coming up on 1 pit stall, 2 pit stall, 3 pit stall. And I'm not really seeing a lot of people that are really looking at me. Everybody's got their back to me, looking at the big board or looking out at the racetrack or whatever. And I finally come up on this, the Gibbs crew, and they're all looking at me like, what is he doing? And so I got their attention, and they came over there. And the way I get out of the car is I put my right foot in the floorboard, and I stand up in the floorboard. And I couldn't because it was on fire down there.
Right.
And so I was trying to figure out how to get out without just, not the traditional way I get out. And luckily those guys came over and just yanked me out of there.
They pulled you out. It reminded me back when Jeff Clark, the big old gas man on the bud
team, texted me.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he said I would have done the same thing.
Right. He could just pull you out with one arm almost, but these big old guys, they can do that, which thankfully they do. I didn't know that you didn't have anything to really brace or leverage yourself out because it's on fire.
I was afraid of putting my foot back down there in that space because that's where I would need to stand up in the floorboard to get myself headed out the door. But they sprayed all this stuff all over the car, which was unfortunate. Brand new car, but they're doing what they're supposed to do to try to put the fire out. The fire was an electrical issue. Started with the main power cord. So we get the car home.
That's right.
The leg board. So I'll tell you about the power cable. The power cable comes out of the battery box behind the seat. It wraps around the back of the seat and down the shifter tunnel. So the power cord is like a 1/2 inch thick wire that runs between the seat and the shifter tunnel. It goes down beside me, and when it gets up toward the dash, it just turns vertical and goes straight up to the on-off switch on the dash. And so there's this red power cable that goes from the floorboard to the door to the dash, and it suspends in midair, right? Well, it goes down in between the leg board and the shifter tunnel. And when we left the shop, there was inches between that shifter board and that cable. There was no problem, no room, no issue, not going to rub, right? But the way that the G-forces work at Bristol and the way we lean into the seat and mashing the gas and mashing the gas, lifting, that leg board's moving. I'm moving it.
That's right.
I'm pushing it over and pushing it over and pushing it over, lap after corner after corner after corner. And I literally sawed that cable in half.
The leg board, the friction of the leg board is basically wearing out that cable, right?
And so the leg board is made of a carbon fiber, which I did not know would have a reaction. But somehow or another, as the carbon fiber leg board is sawing at this power cable, once it gets to the metal of the cable itself, it arcs, and it set the foam on the leg board on fire. And so the foam on the leg board is what was burning. And it ended up burning a hole in the uniform, and that was what was the pinch that I felt.
Which, by the way,
experience the thrill of the racetrack like you're in the driver's seat with DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet on your favorite racers and feel the rush of every pass, pit stop, and victory like never before. Right now, new customers can turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Bet 5 on anything to score big no matter what goes down on the racetrack. Check out Dirty Modo every Thursday where they will handicap the field and they'll recommend bets to watch for the upcoming race. With props, parlays, and more, you'll have bets to follow all race long. The racing action doesn't stop till the checkered flag drops. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and join with code DJD. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. That's code DJD only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
You show us that in your interview with Kim Kuhn, and that right there was frightening for me. Like, your uniform was literally burnt a hole through it. But
So if I had continued, it would have probably gotten worse. All of the foam on the leg board, which is about a 1 by 2 foot piece, all of that was going to continue to burn. And I don't know, this probably wouldn't have created, it might have created an electrical issue where it would have probably maybe ruined the MSD box or something, right? The ignition box. I don't know whether it would eventually shorted something in the ignition itself or whatever, but basically this was kind of working like the power line. We were basically like grounding the power line on the battery, like when you have your battery hooked up to a jumper cable and you accidentally touch the cables together. This is kind of what was going on, like corner after corner after corner for 100 and some laps. And so it would have probably burned all of that foam. In my mind, I'm thinking, man, what else could I have done? What else could I have done? And I just don't know that I could have done anything differently to be able to continue to race. That was the only that's the only disappointing part about all this, is that we didn't get to finish where we should have. Like I said, 4th at worst. Maybe a win. I don't know if we would have beat Justin. He was really good at the end. We certainly would have been able to get around probably the 10 of Hemrick, and ended up running second to Justin.
A couple things. One is, I think it's important, when I was talking to our shop foreman yesterday, it's like there's a baseline question that any of us who don't know how, don't build the cars would ask, and that is, well, why is this a problem that just all of a sudden occurs to you on Saturday or Friday in the race? Well, it's important to note that when those driver seats are bolted into that car, like, they're all different, right? And then we have a bunch of little small drivers, right? And so the last time that you would have had a scenario where that driver's seat is, requiring additional rooms or whatever you want to call it, would have been like Sadler or something. We haven't had a scenario. Usually they've got a lot more foam in between the leg board. In that cable, in that wire, there's foam, and I even looked at it. But this didn't have as much foam. And also the way you driving styles and the way everybody's different, right? And you really do, like you said it earlier, you really lean into that. You are putting pressure on it. I could understand that because I was fortunate a few years ago for you to give me laps at Bristol in a ride around. And the G-forces, the way your body is thrown into the right of that car, every turn is unbelievable, and there's just no way to really articulate that. But knowing that, and then hearing about how you were really kind of leaned into that leg board, which that leg board's now basically sawing and rubbing on that cable, then it starts to make a little sense. And by the way, they will fix it. They've learned. They know that they will fix that, and then that won't ever be an issue again. But it's very interesting. And going back to your performance, Dale. It's as awkward for you to say. It's awkward for you to say. It's certainly awkward for you to hear. But dang, man, you the whole crowd was captivated by how you were out there leading and wearing them out, right?
Yeah.
Even when you weren't leading, you were racing for the win. You were racing for the lead up there. And it was unbelievable. And it made me think, and I know that people listening to this also echoed this. I was there for the Ultimate Experience Saturday, and they're like, I've just got to where I don't listen to Dale when he talks about how nervous he is anymore, because I just know he's got him covered and he's just messing with us.
Shit.
And I'm like, no, he's really nervous. That's not an act.
Yeah.
That's not an act. But I understand what you're saying, because you were I remember leading into Wilkesboro, and the first Wilkesboro, the late model race. There you are in third and going, you could maybe win this thing, and then here it is. So I know that we don't want to go ever put unexpected or unrealistic pressures on you. And I know that you deal with anxiety, but man, you were out there competing, and it was so freaking awesome, dude. It was so awesome watching you in the lead.
It was awesome, and I enjoyed it. Got to sign a lot of autographs after the race. There's a big old rail on the exit of the racetrack at Bristol where the fans will hang out, and got to meet a lot of fans there and got a lot of great text messages. Josh Berry sent me a cool text message after the race that I really appreciated.